Hello and welcome to this presentation of my game software senior project Matchman, Set the World on Fire. This game is set to a genre that I thought up. It's a mix of a hillbilly slash steampunk. That is the feel of the game itself. Hillbilly steampunk is what I call it. The game's a platformer, meaning that if you don't know, it's like a 2D game that you jump from platform to platform to try to reach your goal at the top or wherever the end might be on that level. And you work your way up the levels. You'll see this a lot in like Mario Brothers. Those are platformer type games. The game was completely my idea. I thought up the concept and just went with it. I've been developing it for a while in my mind and putting things on paper. I think it's pretty catchy. A lot of people really like the concept. I went with a 2D game. Now, I know a lot of people went with 3D, but I went with a 2D game because I can do 2D art. I am very good with Adobe Photoshop and know how to make animations. The 3D, not so much. I have a little bit of experience with 3ds Max, but not enough to make all the animations and stuff I wanted to for a 3D game. But set all that aside, for me, this course, this whole game software development was about coding. I wanted to learn to be a good programmer. So, with 3D, yes, you could do everything from scratch in DirectX, but you'd have to have the assets like I was talking about, which I didn't have. And if you really want to do good, you'd have use a 3D engine like Unity or Unreal. My problem with that was I wanted to do all the coding. I didn't want a script. So that was why I decided to go with a 2D game. All this code is mine, all the concepts are mine, all the art is mine. So this game is completely mine. The coding is what drove me this direction. I wanted to do all of it. Now I would like to go into some detail about the code itself. I wanted to use some not real advanced concepts, but some concepts that I've learned down through my schooling that I had never really put to good use. One being enumerators, which give me the power of state-driven machine, which is so awesome if you haven't developed that concept. And another one being polymorphism. I wanted to use that to my advantage. And inheritance. So for the sprites, I started out with a base sprite class called Sprite. I have a lot of enumerations here that I set up to guide along the way, like the movement, the animation. I have gravity, action, direction, movement, animation. Those are all enumerators that I use to control my sprites. I have a base class sprite. This has all your basic variables you'll need, and I have these three base functions. Now, in the same header file, and I find this to have worked very well, I just declared all my classes within this one header file. Now, when I define the classes, I use separate CPP files, as you can see over here. But I just went down through here and I inherit them all from Sprite so that they all have access to these variables and just build upon what I need. And I override the functions that I need to override and work from there. And this worked very well. And I used a lot of overloaded constructors. So I was able to build, let me show you here what I mean. Close this up. I was able to pull out my sprites, and then within this one function here in this level called setup level, I can place my sprites exactly where I want them, set up their curve frame, their current frame, their last frame, their width, their height, their X and Y. So right here I can set up my level in this one small function. My level is set up because I used overloading of constructors, and that worked tremendously well. Very happy with that. For my being able to change from level to level, I used polymorphism of a pure virtual class. My base class levels is a pure virtual class, meaning that the functions have no definition whatsoever. If you're not familiar with that, these functions here is what I use for each level that I derive from the class level to run them. So each class that I derive from level has to define those functions. So my class level 1, it defines those functions, and plus adds on some more functions that it needed. It created its own. But those functions right there run the levels. Load resources, setup level, release, draw level, background sprites. These all need to be overridden. So when you look at my game CPP file, I am using polymorphism to control what level is loaded. So I've created a pointer of the base class, and I've created objects of each one of my levels, which I have my entry level, which is the main menu, the credits, which is at the end of my 3 levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. And when I initiate those, I take that pointer and I set it to each object, and I load up the resources and set up that level. And then to control what level's playing, I have these if-else statements here looking for this enumerator that I set up, which is game state. This is controlling my state-driven game. So whatever the state is, the game state is equal to, that sets that pointer to that object. So now I can just call these few functions here through the game state, the level, run level, depending upon what it's set to, it will run that level. That works very well. Polymorphism works very well for controlling your levels when you use it in this way. Let's see, what else? Well, we already talked about the enumerators. I can't even go into detail how happy I am with how this all turned out. Everything went so smooth. The coding, when you use good indentation and know what you're doing, it just makes everything so much easier. I'm very, very happy with it. Next we'll go into the game, and I'll show you the few levels and see what you think about it. So when you start the game, you're presented with my main menu. I tried to spruce this up, so I added animation into it. As you can see, the pipe is smoking, the Matchman's pipe sitting there smoking, and I added button over animations to the buttons, which I only have 2, which is play and exit. Tried to keep it as simple as possible. Anytime within a game, if you hit the escape key, it brings you back to the main menu. So if you hit the exit button here, it closes out the program. The play button starts you out into level 1, which we will see here in just a second. When I hit this play button, it's going to take us straight into level 1, start the background music, start the game, we're ready to go. The object of the game is to take the match, strike him on the matchbook, that sets him on fire, and then carry that fire to the end of the level to set off the end of the level animation and end the level. And we'll start that right now so you can see. Let's light it up! That steam right there would have put out the match if I was to collide with it. So it's just all about working yourself through the different platforms. Gotta watch out for the water tower here. And going off. So we're going to set off the fuse. Fire in the hole! same CPP, and I wanted to show this. This right here, I can control what level loads up. So I'm going to take it into level 3. Run the game again. And now we're on level 3. And I set it up so that I could just start off right there and explode the dynamite so you can see the credits. And once you finish level 3, it says you have won the game. Hit enter to see credits. So we hit the enter key, and it just goes through a scrolling background of 3 or 4 or 5 different things, like lead programmer. Everything is my name. Lead designer, lead artist, producer. I was kind of just getting funny with this, truthful. Storyline, and then the last one is all rights reserved. And once this hits the top, back to the main menu, and you can start the game over from there, or you can exit. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation of my game. I had a great time making it, learned a whole lot about programming. Thank you.